This point in the ocean is the closest to space. The nearest neighbor it has is an astronaut, just 400 kilometers away. This point contains items created by engineers who have invested trillions of dollars. Let's unravel the mystery behind this extraordinary location. In 1977, strange sounds with a low frequency and high amplitude were recorded underwater. These sounds were detected by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, on its radar. Surprisingly, similar sounds were picked up 5,000 kilometers away by other radars. After calculations, it was found that these sounds originated in a remote area of the South Pacific Ocean. The mysterious sounds were named the bloop, sparking research to determine their origin. The unusual characteristics suggested that the sounds might be from something massive underwater, but nothing extraordinary was discovered in that part of the ocean. For years, people speculated that a giant creature might be lurking in the depths. However, after 2012, NOAA revised its explanation, stating that the sounds were likely due to glacial movements, specifically large glaciers shifting. Still, no one knows for sure what caused the sounds. Interestingly, the location where these sounds were recorded has gained more attention since then. This spot in the South Pacific Ocean, called Point Nemo, is the farthest point from any land, surrounded by thousands of kilometers of ocean on all sides. The closest landmass is approximately 2,688 kilometers away in Antarctica, and inhabited areas like Chile and New Zealand are much farther, making Point Nemo one of the most isolated locations on Earth. In fact, the closest humans to Point Nemo are often astronauts in the International Space Station, orbiting 400 kilometers above. Despite its remoteness, Point Nemo has a purpose. It has become a graveyard for defunct satellites, spacecraft, and rocket debris. But before Point Nemo's discovery, where were these satellites disposed of? Why do they need to be deorbited in the first place? And how are they directed precisely to Point Nemo? Located in the South Pacific, Point Nemo spans 220 million square kilometers, large enough to contain Russia, with room for 5 countries the size of Egypt. This vast, lifeless oceanic zone is not just uninhabited, it is also inhospitable for most marine life due to the extreme conditions and lack of nutrients. Point Nemo is in a deep part of the ocean, reaching a depth of 3,700 meters, around 12,100 feet. At this depth, sunlight can't penetrate, which means no photosynthesis occurs, resulting in minimal marine life. In 1992, a Canadian engineer identified Point Nemo using mathematical calculations, but he has never visited the location due to its isolation. 9 years later, in 2001, Russia's space agency became the first to use it as a spacecraft dumping ground. Since Point Nemo is in international waters, no country has ownership over it, allowing various space agencies to dispose of their equipment here without needing permission. On March 23, 2001, Russia decommissioned its Mir space station and guided it to Point Nemo. Since then, other space agencies have used this area as a space junk disposal site. Over 260 spacecraft fragments now lie under the waters of Point Nemo, and the International Space Station will likely be laid to rest here around 2030. According to NASA, as it reaches the end of its operational life. Satellites and spacecraft are designed with precision and cost millions, sometimes billions of dollars to construct, but they have limited lifespans. When they reach the end of their life cycle, they must be deliberately guided to crash safely, often into remote areas like Point Nemo. If not carefully deorbited, they risk falling uncontrollably, which can be dangerous. In 1978, the Soviet satellite Cosmos 954 lost contact and re-entered Earth's atmosphere uncontrollably, spreading radioactive debris across northern Canada. The cleanup, called Operation Morning Light, was a massive and costly effort. Similarly, in 1997, a woman named Lottie Williams was walking in a park in Oklahoma when a piece of debris from a Delta II rocket landed on her shoulder. She was unharmed, but this incident highlighted the risks of uncontrolled re-entry. To avoid such incidents, space agencies target remote ocean areas like Point Nemo, ensuring minimal risk to human life. Before the discovery of Point Nemo, satellites were disposed of in the Pacific Ocean or remote land areas. When deorbiting a satellite, engineers carefully calculate the timing and position for firing thrusters, guiding it towards Point Nemo. Due to the lack of air and space, there is no friction, so a satellite in orbit can remain there for months. Traveling at around 15,000 kilometers per hour, when a satellite re-enters Earth's atmosphere, friction raises its temperature to 3,000 degrees Celsius, turning it into a fireball. The intense heat causes most debris to vaporize before reaching the ground, but occasionally, fragments do reach Earth. Named Nemo, from the Latin word meaning no one, this isolated point lacks both human and marine life. Few ships pass near it, as aid would be challenging to reach in an emergency. If anyone were stranded at Point Nemo, it would take at least 2 weeks for a ship to arrive. Even long-range helicopters, which can travel about 3,000 kilometers, would face fuel limitations for a return journey. Scientific research at Point Nemo remains a dream due to its remote location, but future exploration might unravel the mysteries behind the strange sounds recorded in 1977.